for national anthem. Okay, tuamke wote. Tujaribu kama siku zile. Okay. Yeah. National anthem and then East African. First. Yes. Good. So, moja, mbili, tatu.
Ilete baraka kwetu, haki iwe ngao na mlinzi, na tukae na undugu, amani na uhuru, raha tupate na ustawi.
While standing, I would request Ms. Bashir to do prayer and will be finalized by Mwendo. Thank you.
Assalamu alaikum. May peace be upon all of you. We really pray for the gathering of our sessions today, especially our chairman, who has really worked hard to bring us all of us together. We really pray for unity, peace, love, and harmony for our country, for our nation, and across the globe. May God bless us. May God bring us again together to do this gathering once more again and to move forward. Thank you so much. God bless you.
Everlasting King of glory, we give you honor, praise, and worship you. Thank you that you've brought us together here with a purpose. Father, we are committing ourselves unto your able hands. Let the Holy Spirit guide us according to your will. As we start and continue, take over, guide us according to your will. We want to ask, mighty God, every organization represented here, let your favor, blessings be upon them. Whatever they do, give them wisdom, knowledge, and understanding that they may do according to your will as we serve communities. It is in Jesus' name I pray and believe.
Amen. Thank you. We may have a seat. Okay, thank you so much. Can we clap for ourselves? At this point, allow me to recognize all stakeholders represented this day for this very, very important process. I'm not qualified to talk about the entire process, but the team will come here shortly to talk to you about that. But allow me to recognize all the networks represented. And I'll start with the host who will also come to welcome us, ASAL Humanitarian Network, which is also a registered public benefit organization, being a network of many other organizations. The PBO Federation, that is the immediate National Council of NGOs, is now a federation. ChipNet, thank you so much, Kamikla, for ChipNet. Thank you so much. Kango, led by Professor Alan Raki, karibu sana. Elimu Coalition, represented by Kirui, sorry. HAS, I have a whole list somewhere. Women Caucus, represented by Joy Bells Medicare, Sante Sana. Nairobi CSOs, represented by two representatives, Chuma Diedo, of which organization? Shedi Kenya, and also Junior Oscar Foundation. Thank you so much. Charter for Change. Can we clap for Charter for Change? They have a very, very strong representation. And then Women Indigenous Network. Thank you so much, Ms. Bashir, for what you are doing, not only in Kenya, but also across Kenya. Paparusha Bendera ya Indigenous Communities. East African Climate Change Network, Kamoto. Thank you so much, and your team. Which other network? Oh, Kenya University Students Association, which is also an association of many other associations of universities also representing the young people. I don't think I've left any network. GPO team plus many other networks present. Actually, in short, there are about 20 networks represented in this gathering this afternoon. We have been here since this morning to just interrogate ourselves and see how we can face the reporter team plus the consultants in terms of what we have. And now allow me to recognize not really so special category of group, but leaders, because I don't want to say you are special, just among us. But by virtue of your positions, I think I want to recognize you, and I will, with a lot of humility, also have Professor be part of that category. So, Director Beatrice Kamamia, can we clap for Director? Thank you so much. Maybe you can stand to be counted, to be seen also. Director Beatrice is a director with the PBORA, but also is in another network of women, youth, and children. So, Sawapiwa Africa. Thank you so much. Asante sana. Director Nsio Kindeti, director with PBORA, but also with Green Neighborhood Initiative, Greenio, is also a network of green environmentalists. Thank you so much. And then our elder, who is also a culture at art. That is none other than Benjamin Ongopa. Sorry, senior. Yes, Benjamin Ongopa is a senior elder, but is culture at art. Can we clap for him? Yes. So thank you so much for that. And Bashir, I also want to recognize you again for that. If you allow me, with all humility, on behalf of all the other leaders present, to just invite Professor for 1 minute to say something, and then I'll invite Ahmed to invite us so that we invite people. Just on our behalf. You are most senior here in terms of age and experience.
Thank you very much, Chair. I think on behalf of many of us who have been managing NGOs in this country, we want to appreciate the big steps you have taken to get the PBO Act in place. As we realize, the Act was drafted in 2013. Remember, remember, way back in Asia. That's when this was being done. I still remember I was only 3 hours to get to the same airport. In the same Malaysia city. So I want to congratulate the Secretariat for your leadership, and we look forward that the fact that we have started the journey, very soon we are going to be celebrating the benefit of this administration. Thank you very much.
Thank you. Can we clap for the Professor? Thank you so much. When you spoke, we have all spoken because we experienced. For now, we cannot match. At this point, allow me, ladies and gentlemen, to invite our host this day, and that is none other than ASAL Humanitarian Network, led by the convener, who also happens to be the CEO, Ahmed Abdi, to also welcome you and say a few words about this network. Thank you.
Thank you very much. All protocols observed. Ladies and gentlemen, colleagues and partners, ASAL Humanitarian Network was born in 2019. Maybe this history will help Deborah to really understand these journeys of networks. And we were just a caucus of 30 local organizations. And when we met and came together, we really wanted to weed out competition and to be able to have harmonized ways of working of agencies who are coming from the ASAL communities, and largely the 9 ASAL counties, arid counties, from Turkana all the way to Tana River, Isiolo included, parts of Baringo, and West Pokot as the countries that we were working. And largely we worked in those ones because they were frequented by crisis, and the situation that was there was dire. We wanted to amplify the voices of the different actors at the grassroots, plus communities who were vulnerable. Along the journey, we realized that there need to be a distinction between what the network collective does and what the individual members do. So that's why we thought there was need to come up with a collective view of what is happening and registered in 2014 October. And we're still moving slowly. And as we were working through a hosting approach, meaning members were able to host us within their programming because we were bringing what we call harmonized models. So whatever they were working on, we were elevating and scaling up. I'll summarize it with that. So this afternoon, I have a pleasure of welcoming you all to this session for consultation, which brings civil society networks. We wanted to have as many as possible. But this, I think, is the first of its kind. As we go forward, we will be having a larger volume. So that of 2025, land by CSOs sector, and it's great that of that regulation and to operationalize it. Our collaboration is critical to ensure inclusive, enabling, and responsive realities on the ground as you work with us. And also, as we move forward, we anticipate that the purpose of the regulations is really to protect civil space, support accountability and transparency sector, and empower local organizations to really continue functional in the space which is complementary and gap-filling to government. Thank you all for really showing up for this session. And my real fights are, this is a key cornerstone aspect as you join us and we hand over this process to you. Thanks for really allowing us to have this session with you.
Thank you. Can we clap for Ahmed? He's a man of few words, but he's action-oriented. For the short time or long time we have interacted with Ahmed, he really makes things move, not only for his organization, but for other organizations. I can assure you, I've interacted with organizations under Agen, and they are really doing a lot of work outside there, practically, to really solve human crisis. Thank you so much for that. And we would like to see more and more of these engagements. At this point, ladies and gentlemen, before you are invited officially by the team, allow me to bring in Monyonjo to introduce the team, and it's not yet over until we are also kick-started through the director who will represent the chair. I'm on the other side today. I'm also part of the team, but I'm on the other side. So let me welcome you to introduce the team, and then I'll also welcome director to officially speak on behalf of the chair, and then kickstart us.
Thank you so much, Bona Chairman. Good afternoon, all. My name is Monyonjo Stephen Nyatuka from PBORA. PBORA, you are told not to say PBORA. PBORA, in charge of compliance. We have a team lead who will do the introduction for the secretariat team from PBORA. Mine is just to highlight that the process from now on, what we intend to do is to have to take you through briefly through the regulations, the highlights basically. Then we hear what you have for us. Because this time it has to do, we did draft the regulations. So as we sit here, it is for us to listen to how do you think the regulations are, where do you think we should change, what should be added, what should be removed. Because we want to end up with a document that works for the whole sector. And as you know, we are almost at the tail end of the public participation, having gone around the country. And thank you so much, Chairman, for this particular session, for the networks, because they matter a lot. And I think there is somewhere where they are on enhancing self-regulation mechanisms. It's a big thing for the networks. So I hope that one comes out very clearly. And I hope actually there is a memorandum to that effect in as much as we'll be taking the views. So in that aspect, I wish to call Bwana Ben, who is our team lead, to introduce our team before we proceed.
Okay, thank you. Good afternoon. Okay, you have heard my name is Bernard Boma. Bernard Boma is from Public Benefits Organization Regulatory Authority. This is the team from the Public Benefits. Chaboy, thank you so much. This is a very key sector, and you are a key stakeholder. It is good you came out, and thank you for the sponsor who came up to give space for you to be able to highlight the views. For those ones who have been able to be following it up, you realize that indeed this exercise has been going on countrywide. We started all the way from Garissa, we moved to Meru, we came to Nyeri, all the way Machakos, we went to Mombasa, Ram, then we go to the western side, we started from Lodwar coming to Eldoret, we were in Kisuru, now we also came to Nairobi. There is another sector, which a key stakeholder, which is going right away now. That is why you see the management, it is a skeleton. It is just going on at the current, we are going on concurrently. So we said it's very, very important. Let us be able to receive the views and your contributions. From us here, as you can be able to see, people are divided in different roles. We have got the people who are going to take you through the presentations. We have got the rapporteurs, and then we have got the people who are assisting as we try to get the views from you. Let me take very fast to introduce the team. Okay, the ones who is going to act like, see, from this side here, this is Steve Monyoncho. Steve Monyoncho is from PBORA. I think that is the right term which they have already accepted. Juliet here, Karan she's from the legal side. And then we have got Wakili. Which name do you like most? I always see that you prefer the other names. Fitaris. Okay, Fitaris, she is also in the legal department. He's going to take us through about the regulations and how we are moving on. Wanjala, Josephine, she's our key rapport. All your presentations, be it in soft, be it in hard copies, she's going to take down the notes. And kindly, if you have got any soft copy, she's going to provide the means by which you can be able to send them. Scora has been very key, moving around. She's in corporate, but when it comes to this one, she tried to do multitasking. We have got Claire there. She's also involved with the work with the Scora. This is the team from the Public Benefits Organization Regulatory Authority. Kindly, we welcome you. Feel free to do your presentations. Anything which you have it in memorandum, we will be able to give the time when you can be able to present that one. Oh, Lynn, she's so far there. Yes, sorry for that. Huh? She's also involved in the management and the laboratories. She's also doing a good job based on that. So when you see, if you have got any issues, kindly feel free to present any views. In case there are any consultations, you are feel most welcome. You can be able to consult us. So we open this particular occasion. Now I hand over to Steve Monyoncho, who is going to tell us the next course of action. Thank you so much.
So much. Bwana Chairman, I think it's advisable that we get our directors. Yes. Kindly invite.
Okay. PBORA team or B? PBORA. But you are used to PBORA. At our level, we say PBORA. They are very keen to make sure that there is also recognition of the directors. And we have just consulted and said that they will do even as we wait the chair who was supposed to come, and he told me he's just around. So maybe the team will be patient until possible the chair can come later so that we close together. But again, just where stand, all the directors from the PBORA. The Petris Kamamia, thank you so much, Director. Director Benjamin Onkoba, and then Director Monsieur Kindeti. They were here since morning, and they are so patient because they knew you were coming. And oh, sorry, and myself. Sometimes mtu anajisahau, si ndio? So mtanisamea. I also went to take Director Mohamed Arai, who also happened to be Deputy Governor. Deputy Governor, but also Secretary to OHN. So thank you so much for hosting us, and we shall continue together. So at this point, they will continue. Later on, we will close together. And just in advance, we would like to do a group photo later on. There is a big parliament for public participation. So the team are erected the other side. So thereafter, at the end, we will all go there. This public participation. Karibu sir.
Thank you so much. A round of applause for all of us for the introduction. Thank you, thank you. And now I want to invite Vitalis, Wakili Vitalis, to take us briefly through and to give us an overview of the regulations and the journey that we have come so far. Karibu Wakili. Wakili, karibu.
All right, thank you so much. Our board directors, the National Federation of PBOs, my colleague from the Public Benefits Organizations Regulatory Authority, and the media, good afternoon. As you heard previously, my name is Vitalis, and I'll be briefly taking you through an overview of the draft Public Benefits Organizations Regulations we have drafted for the sector. Yes, so the first thing we look at what are the objectives of this particular forum. One is that we want to highlight the salient features of the draft PBO regulations 2025. We'll also want to sensitize you people and other stakeholders on the provisions of the regulations. And we'll also be expecting to receive the public feedback and concerns. And we'll be looking forward to identify areas that we need to further improve in the regulations that have been put together. Maybe just a brief background and a context to these regulations. As you are all aware that in 2013, the then President Mwai Kibaki assented to the Public Benefits Organizations Act. The PBO Act in 2013, of course, it stood there in the shelves until last year, May, when the then Interior Cabinet Secretary commenced it on the 14th of May last year. But also previously, there are so many unsuccessful attempts to draft and even adopt regulations, and even just attempts to implement the PBO Act as it was. But last year, during the President's address to the UN Civil Society conference in Nairobi, the President promised, and the then Cabinet Secretary finally then commenced the PBO Act of 2013. Now, sometimes people are asking, why then do we need why did we need the PBO Act in the first place? And what is the need for reforms in the public benefit sector? You realize we previously had the NGO Act, but before the NGO Act, there were so many other regulations and laws that were guiding the third sector in this country. So the reasons we needed the reforms in the public benefit sector, one, we needed to give effect to the Constitution and constitutional principles, including the right and freedom of association and conscience. And that is the constitutional anchorage of the third sector here in Kenya. We also needed to better facilitate the activities of the charitable sector. As you are aware that the charitable sector has registrations in so many multiple regimes. Previously, we had the non-governmental organizations registered under the previous NGOs Act. Of course, we also had the charitable trust registered under the Trustees Act. We had those organizations registered under companies limited by guarantee. We also had community-based organizations, but all of them were performing one factor, which is public benefit to the society. Then we also needed to better facilitate the activities of the charitable sector and streamline the registration processes for these organizations. We also needed to entrench principles of self-regulation. Self-regulation, I know, didn't begin with this. Previously, we had the NGOs Council, which I think transitioned now to the Federation of PBOs. But I think now with self-regulation under the Federation, I think it's coming up with about 3 ways. One, we have the National Federation, we also have the Federation of Forums, and we also have forums. And the basic reason why we need self-regulation is first to give you people autonomy, that it must not be the regulator first to regulate the conduct of PBOs. Once we give you an opportunity to even look at the code of conduct within yourself, it even becomes so much easier for the regulator to then do the regulation. We also needed to enhance regulatory and oversight mechanisms. Welcome. Our consultants have come to the house. Karibuni sana, Sheila. Let's have our consultants introduce themselves.
Good afternoon. I must apologize for a delay in getting here. We were undertaking another meeting at ACTED in Lavington, the same kind of forum. By way of introduction, my name is Sheila Charono. I am a partner in a law firm named CNK Advocates LLP. We've been working with the PBORA in this process of coming up with these regulations. And I'll also introduce the colleague that I've come with. Perhaps he can also introduce himself.
Good afternoon. Mine is Charles Mwangi. I am also with CNK Advocates LLP. Thank you.
Thank you.
Usually when the father in the house comes and you've stood in for them, you religiously give him back their seat so that they can then continue. Asante sana Sheila. I was just holding brief, and now that you're in the house, I think it's only honorable that you proceed with the assignment.
I can say far from it, but okay. Can I use a machine? We have an updated version of this presentation. Allow us to just project it. So sorry about that. The beauty about this process is that the more you engage with the stakeholders, the more we've been able to understand how we would best bring forth this information that's contained in these provisions of the regulations, and hence the reason why we've continuously had updated versions of our presentations. So right, so I believe this is where we were. As Vitali said, he was holding brief. That's what we usually say in court when you're not the advocate who's handling the matter, and you're just assisting. So quickly, the objectives of these forums have been first and foremost to highlight the features of the draft regulations. Secondly, it's been to sensitize the members of the public and also the stakeholders on the provisions of the draft regulations. We've also been receiving the feedback, suggestions, propositions, and concerns of members of the public and stakeholders. And equally, we've been able to also identify areas for further improvement of the draft. In terms of the historical context, you will note that this act was enacted in the year 2013, and it's been more than 10 years. The act has been shelved on account of several issues, including litigation and lack of goodwill. However, last year there was quite a breakthrough in the sense that the president at the UN Civil Society Conference, which was held on the 10th of May, 2024, he promised that we will actually finally get that act out of the shelf and operationalize it. Hence the process that we are doing so as to ensure that we operationalize this act. So upon that promise that was made at the UN Civil Society Conference, the act was actually the commencement of the act was in the same of 2024. Now, question is why do we need reforms in this sector? First and foremost, it is to give effect to the freedom of association and conscience. Progressive Constitution of Kenya 2010. These are the key freedoms that have been granted to us. And this sector mostly is one that utilizes this kind of freedoms in the sense of the kind of work that we undertake. So one of the key reasons why we need these reforms is to give effect to those freedoms that's been provided for in the Constitution. Secondly, is to better facilitate the activities of the charity sector in Kenya. Also to streamline the registration and reporting processes. As you will note that, and even going forward in this presentation, there's been a clear processes that have been provided in the regulations as well, of course, as the Act. Equally, to entrench self-regulation in administration of PBOs. This goes back to the aspect of the freedom of association and conscience. And also to enhance accountability and transparency in the sector. Now, you will note that this act repeals the NGOs Act of 1990, and the key differences between this act are highlighted here. The NGOs Act provided for NGOs only, but the PBOs Act expands the scope, provides for public benefit organizations to include even organizations that have been registered under other regimes, including trusts, including societies, including foundations, companies, CLGs, companies limited by guarantee. The 1990 Act established the NGO board. This current act has established the current authority, which is the Public Benefit Organizations Regulatory Authority. The previous act did not have or did not provide for a tribunal. In this act, we have the Public Benefits Organizations Tribunal, which is actually already set up and is already operationalized. This act, the 1990 Act, had limited matters of self-regulation, but in this current act, that aspect of self-regulation has been expanded. The previous act had long registration procedures. In this current act, the processes have been shortened. Lastly, in the 1990 Act, the NGOs Act, the repealed act, there was no provision for sustainable mechanisms for PBOs. In this current act, we have an enhanced sustainability mechanisms, that is, the PBOs can undertake economic activities, which is a very important aspect and a key aspect for the sector. So summarily, the regulations are in several parts. Some of the key provisions include issues of registration and recognition of PBOs, governance and institutional matters, reporting obligations for the PBOs, sanctions and appeal processes, and dissolution and deregistration. I'll quickly run through so that we get time to be able to get your feedback on these issues. Now, the Act clearly defines what a PBO is. This is provided under Section 5 of the PBO Act. And equally, the public benefit activity has also been defined under the same Section 5, which means any activity that falls within the categories listed under the 6th schedule of the Act. So in terms of the types of the PBOs recognized under the Act, we have number 1, national local PBOs. Number 2, bestowed PBOs, which are the ones that I was mentioning earlier, the companies limited by guarantees, the societies, the CBOs, those are the ones that can come under this Act and seek to be bestowed public benefit status. That is, if they meet the public benefit test. Equally, we have international PBOs who would be registered similarly to the national PBOs. And we also have exempt international. We've been having a very serious debate on the other side on the difference between the two. Exempt international are mostly those who do not undertake or implement directly the activities within the country. Now, the requirements for registration include name reservation, the application in the prescribed form, of course the prescribed fee, the constitution of the PBO, your proposed officials, minutes of the meeting authorizing registration, particulars of the office bearers, and the physical and postal address of the PBO. It would be important to note that this changes according to the type of PBOs that I have mentioned, that we have different types. So in terms of the effect of registration, once you register as a PBO under this PBO Act, you would be required to comply with the obligations of the PBO specified under the Act, as well as any other written law. And number 2, you will have eligibility to access the rights and benefits that are provided for under this Act. Now, this Act also provides for cancellation and suspension. That is mostly in Section 18 and 19 of the Act. equally reverbated at Regulation 16. And some of the grounds for suspension and cancellation are failure to comply with your constituting documents, that is your constitution. Number 2, failure to comply with the law. If there are any breaches of the terms and conditions of the registration certificate, that would be a ground for cancellation or suspension. And number 4, making false representations to the authority or ceasing to undertake public benefit activity. Those are the grounds for suspension and cancellation. Now, back to self-regulation. This act, and equally the regulations, the draft regulations, provide for recognition of forums and federation of forums. For you to be recognized as a forum, you must be a group of, or rather, you must have at least a membership of 10 PBOs. You should be engaged in related activities or similar objectives. And you undertake the similar name search and then reserve. And then after that, you enter into a recognition agreement with the authority. The requirements are as such. Name reservation, as just like registration, name reservation application in the prescribed form, prescribed fee, constituting documents, proof of geographical spread, minutes of the meeting resolving to form a forum, minutes of the meeting of individual. The 10 PBOs need to also have their minutes of their meeting resolving to join their forum, and then you need to have the particulars of the office bearers and copies of certificates of registration for all those 10 PBOs. So I think the question I've been hearing a lot is people saying, it's like registration. No, it's really not registration. These are just the documents that you present to the authority for you to enter into a recognition agreement with the authority. It's not necessarily that you're given a certificate of registration as a forum. You are recognized by the authority as a forum. Now, for the Federation of Forums, those forums, at least 5 of them, can form a federation of forums. Those forums should be engaged in related activities of the categories specified in the 6th schedule or have similar geographical location. The registration, or rather the recognition agreement, for you to enter into a recognition agreement for a federation of forums, the requirements are similar to those that I've indicated earlier for forums. Now, in terms of obligations and material changes, once you're registered as a PBO under the Act, and of course these regulations, you're required to maintain up-to-date records of audited accounts, financial records, inventory of assets, and annual progress reports. You'll also be required to file annual returns within 6 months of each calendar year. And equally, you are required to notify the authority of any material changes that you've changed the constitution, anything in the constitution, your officials, any material changes you make in your PBO, you're required to notify the authority. Now, there are means and methods of, rather the Act and the regulations provide for dissolution and deregistration of PBOs. A PBO can voluntarily dissolve, and how? The question is how. You give a resolution to the authority signed by 2/3 of your members, and that resolution should be accompanied by your certificate of registration, the minutes of the meeting resolving to dissolve, and equally, you need to provide the reasons for the voluntary dissolution. The authority may also deregister the PBO, as well as, of course, by way of an order of court. And grounds for deregistration by the authority is if you've failed to comply with the Act or regulations, if you're involved in illegal activities, if you contravene any law in Kenya, or if you fail to undertake public benefit purposes for at least 1 year. When you decide to dissolve or when you're deregistered, there will be need to safeguard the assets of the PBO. Of course, just like it is in the name, it's a public benefit institution. It is for public benefit. Those assets are not for individual officials of the PBO. Hence, the need for the authority to step in safeguarding the assets of the PBO when there is deregistration or when the PBO decides to voluntarily dissolve. So when such happens, that is where a PBO is due for dissolution and cancellation or deregistration. You're required to notify the authority, then identify the PBO to which your assets shall be transferred to, and then you will also be required to provide the authority with a list of all your assets and liabilities. This act, as well as, of course, the regulation, can be said to be progressive in the sense that it provides or gives room for PBOs to be able to engage in economic activities for purposes of sustainability. So a PBO may engage in lawful economic activities to support its objectives if it is licensed or authorized by the relevant regulatory authority to engage in the relevant activity. So whatever business you want to undertake or whatever economic activity you want to undertake, you need to get the requisite approvals by the regulators of those respective fields. If it is in pharmaceuticals, you have the pharmaceuticals body, the regulator that you need to get your licenses from or approvals from. Whichever field that you want to undertake an economic activity, you have to get your licenses or approvals from those authorities. Number two, you can undertake those activities if it is in the best interest of the organization. Number three, if the PBO, as a PBO, you apply prudent financial and business practices. As you said, the assets, the finances of the PBO are not individual in nature and they need to be safeguarded in all manner of ways. So even in undertaking economic activities, PBOs are required to undertake or obtain prudent financial advice so as to safeguard those assets. Also, the proceeds of the PBO should or are to be applied to the public benefit activity for which it is registered. So when you make profit, you plow it back to the PBO. You continue plowing it back to the PBO for purposes of the activities. Now, as we come to an end, these are the key benefits under this act and as the regulations, and as provided for under the regulations. That is simplified registration processes. Number two, there is internal and external review of authority decisions. If a PBO is aggrieved by any decision of the authority, they have room to request for review of those decisions. Number three, better charity sector standards, industry standards. Equally more sustainability through economic activities, so that to prevent the kind of shocks that can occur. Case in point, the USAID issue that happened recently, and also greater transparency and accountability. Those are the key benefits under this act. Okay, so I hope I've taken the shortest time possible. I've tried as best as I could to do that. Now, I don't know if there's any written memoranda, any specific written proposals that have been done by the group. The practice has been that We've been collecting those written proposals. The authority has been collecting those written proposals, at least so that they will be considered in the final report. Equally, once we're done with this sensitization process, then we open up the floor for all of you to be able to give your propositions, comments, ask questions, take advantage of the opportunity you have to ask the questions that you have so that they can be considered and answered by the authority. I'm made to understand the first one is here. The first, is it a question? Karim.
I think, thank you very much for the proper presentation. So what we did before you came was to do a consultation process internally, and we had broken out into groups. And we have divided the whole setup into groups, and they have presentations they are bringing back. And that will be collated into a memorandum which we will share in a soft copy. And because we said they are already written up and they will read through a bit of it, of the key things that came out, including questions or really additions or subtractions. We'll also have a space for a breather for anything the rest of the people in the room might think is so glaring and has not been addressed in the sessions, or maybe not done well. And they have always been, so that space is also what we agreed. So in the next maybe hour, we give space for each of the groups to just plow back and see what they have come up with. Being learned fellas also in school, not lawyers. So in the context of having gone to school, then they will present it in an orderly way. And so that's what we agreed. So we have group 1 to 4, and thereafter we give these are networks which are quite many. Some of them are up to having 1,200 members. Others are 5,000. Others are around 200. I think the smallest one here was talking about 30 members in each of those networks. So the consultation process you will be getting from here is very rich and represents that kind of a household in the CSO sector. We'll have loved to have maybe the 10,000 or 15,000 which are registered as part of a way of bringing back that information, including the ones which are not seriously functional and what is making them not work well. So if you allow me, with your permission, then we can give space. If there's a question that comes up, then we can write a number of them and then you can respond, but allow us to really plow back the deliberations. And then it's open. You can continue.
Thank you so much. I don't know who said lawyers alone are the ones who are learned. For purposes of this meeting, we are all learned. We have agreed.
I didn't want you to take me to court, so.
Okay, for the purpose of recording the proceedings and having everything captured, I just wanted to know, you are going to present, you will consolidate the document and then submit later. That is the agreement. Thank you. Okay, okay. Okay, thank you.
As you might see, we have over-presented in our memorandum.
I must say this is a very organized way of doing things, and I'll commend you for that. I don't know where we are.
There you are.
All right.
So that it stays in the gallery.
I hope the mic is okay.
Yes.
All right. I don't know how I became group 1. So they are saying I get closer here. Okay. All right. So yeah, my name is Martin. When I'm here, I'm representing a number of outfits. First of all, I'm a non-profit leader, now a PBO, Empower and Serve Kenya. Also the current chair for Charter for Change. If you have not heard about Charter for Change, it is a working group. It is a convening between the INGOs and local organizations. And here in Kenya, we have over 100 membership in the working group, where we have over 40 INGOs who are signatories to the Charter for Change, while the Kenya or the local organizations are endorsers to the Charter for Change in something we call the Charter of Accountability, which is also a form of self-regulation within the working group. And that is in line with promoting the global trends around localization. And also, these are, when you look at the PBO Act also comes in as to strengthen the localization agenda, where the local organizations are stronger, they are better. And I'm also happy to see the place of the forums and networks within that platform. Again now, we'd like to go directly to our discussions for the day. And again, happy to see the provisions that the updated versions. I think the more you have done the presentations, it's getting a little bit clearer. So even some of the points that we have here may be a little bit obsolete. So forgive us because we did not read your presentation. We were reading the regulations as they are. The initial point when we had CBOs, social groups, then we have foundations, and then we have the NGOs, and then the act also comes in to bring a little bit of solid classification, but then it is not so clear how that actually distinguishes, and especially when we talk about the marginalized, the minority, and the special groups, specifically mentioning indigenous groups, persons with specific needs, women, youth, and so there is just a question on how the act or the regulations would clearly distinguish the purpose, and also when it comes to registration, how we'll be able to also make it easier for such to register as such. So there is need for classification and clustering of the groups, then also have targeted waiver and fee variation when it comes to different services, including registration. And also another pointer here is specific guidance on how the authority is collaborating with the social development offices. Initially, we have known the social groups, the CBOs, registered within the All right. Yeah, thank you so much. Then on the second bullet is about the harmonization across the different organizations. I've already highlighted that, so I think it's just an emphasis when we talk about community-based organizations, foundations, self-help groups, and also a highlight on how the PBO, the provisions, especially with the the provision and the integration bit. There's need for clarity on how each category fits within the PBO framework and whether specific requirements or provisions do apply. The regulations should acknowledge some of the existing structures and the integration where possible. Then that would help with better implementation, but possibly that can still come in as a clarification. We have already highlighted the benefit that comes with as part of a sustainability model, but also when we are living at a time of social enterprises, Personally, from the organization I lead, we do have some income generation, and at some point, we have been figuring out probably to register a company, then it becomes very tedious. Probably it's just some bids that are being generated by the participants, so you wonder how do we and make sure that it doesn't contravene the act. So the provision is great. But then when it comes to registration, it also comes with accountability. Then how, while the PBO Act allows for income generation, there is also need to declare the interest. Maybe will I register a PBO specifically with an intent to be able to do income generation? Then how is that, especially for companies also to come into the PBO sector, and we end up losing the gains that we already had, especially now that the taxman also likes to get what they need to get. Then tax compliance, of course the provisions are, we have to be guided by the regulator sector, but there is still also the question, what are the provisions if a name search is done and secured, then it's also very clear in terms of how long then that takes for you to pay another amount, maybe for you to still continue doing the name search again. So the clarity of that in terms of once you have been able to pay for the 3 names that you're searching, you secure it for this number of days, again, will you need to pay again, or you just need to put in new names? Of course, somebody will say it's administration. Then again, in the same spirit, to have consideration of full of partial waivers for organizations that are working with the marginalized groups. Again, the same classification on affirmative action in regard to indigenous groups, youth, women, persons living with disability, and men. Then to our last bullet in the same sense is about the INGO. First of all, highlighting the need for the INGO voice within the PBO. And of course, one of the questions that was in my group is their participation. And I promised them I would be checking in with the INGO contact within Charter for Change. But I believe probably they have been able to participate. It would be good to hear from the team. But then again, there was a specific note that the specific requirements for INGOs, especially to be able to engage and also to have a local person within their board or such kind of regulations, that there is some further scrutiny that are specific for INGOs. And while there is a big, again, it should not be a restrictive measure in terms of their purpose and their intent to be able to do good. And I think that's also something good. So undue restriction may jeopardize the operation and the independence of the INGOs. So then there's need to create implementation and compliance that is not restrictive, and also maybe it could also be a way of potentially hindering the global collaboration that would come in therein. So it would be good to hear potentially what voices we have had from INGOs. So we recommend that the provision be clarified or even revised to have a balance on localization goals and also needs for flexibility and the independence of the international organizations. and also in terms of communication mechanisms, again, within the INGOs, establishing clear procedures around that process. We also had a few cross-cutting, and I felt we needed just to mention them. And I know there is a team that will be emphasizing them, especially to do with taxation as part of the process and the provisions that we have. Then there is a question on exemption and the processes therein. There's a question that local organizations face significant hurdles trying to access the exemption, and that is in regard to the connection and ability to deal with the taxman, KRA, in this context, and that also needs to be a provision. So that was a cross-cutting item, and also another cross-cutting item is in regard to representation within the county, and that's a question on how CSOs and the processes of CSOs being represented within the county government. I will not emphasize that because we have a team that is looking into that, but just to thank you, and I hope that the team have represented your views. All right.
Thank you. You really represented us very well. I just wanted to add one more, which is really very key for us as an international perspective. My name is Balkisa Bashir. I'm a founder, co-founder of Barwaka Relief Organization and a director. We work with marginalized and indigenous community across the globe, not only Africa, but also across the globe, anywhere in the world. So we have been working as a group one. And what we have seen, what I have seen especially, not what others have seen, but what I've seen and experienced about the national donors, they are trying to retreat from Kenya. They are trying to seek other countries which are very possible for them to work with. And that is why I said we have to include that, especially when it comes to registration. When we want to register our organizations, we have to get a local person, which we don't know the background very well, because we need agent so that we can be able to register our organization in order for us to assist the people from the grassroots level. Therefore, we fall onto that. And when we fall onto that, what happens is that the work that you have assigned to those people, they might not even fulfill. And as a consequence, that is where we get wrong. And, so many organizations that I have come across, sit with them, talked about all this kind of community, how we are going to help the community, which country is the best now. I think many people are turning to Uganda, if I'm not wrong. And you'll see many NGOs going back to Uganda just because of the system there. We need to change. If we can change that perspective of like having the local community on board, I think that is where we are having a lot of hardship. We cannot choose, you cannot even choose somebody that you knew for 10 years ago. You don't know their character now. So it is must that we have to choose because we have been forced to. So that kind of forcement is what a lot of international NGOs are saying, that we cannot put our money in that account or in that country, simply because of that restriction. About the marginalization which we work as international perspective, I think the marginalized communities are still remaining as marginalized because we have a lot of obstacles. As I said, a lot of paperwork, even the tax exemption, we cannot be able to get it. There are a lot of goods out there, but because of those restrictions, we cannot prosper to the people who are really in need. We really thank to the government, to the current government, for simply because of putting the NGOs back to the system again. But what we are saying is that the PPO, is it not PPO, the PPO authority, Public Benefit Authority, we need to have a very good relationship. Communication is key. Now what we have been taught here might not reach out there.
So there will be that miscommunication. The way I'm interpreting, the way I'm telling them might not be the same of what you are talking about here. So how are you going to engage yourself when it comes to international? We need to come back to our country, assist our country, but because of a lot of obstacles, we are retreating back. In terms of security, who is going to be responsible? We are the responsible to train people in terms of security. But how are we going to train when we have all those obstacles? Food, donation, all those kind of things. We are having a lot of challenges. So as a country as a whole, I'm also appealing to the government that as NGOs, we are coming back to our beloved countries, and we need to support our local and grassroots communities, but we are having a lot of obstacles. Of course, it might be better, but still, we need to rethink and put the clock forward. Thank you so much for listening to me, and God bless you.
Clarification, so we go around all the group, so that we don't.
No, I think it would, most of the matters that have been raised are mostly propositions. I'm not clear if there was any question. There was not necessarily any question, but perhaps Julie, if you have a comment or something, then we can go to the next group.
The role of PBO within accessing the, charities are saying they are not getting exemptions. So what is the role of, maybe that would be the key question I was just hearing.
Good afternoon. My name is Juliet Karari. I am an advocate of the High Court of Kenya, working at the PBORA. So Group 1 has come up with very good propositions, which we have noted, especially on special groups, which may require us to, or you've suggested that there should be different fees. We have noted that, and it will be put as part of your propositions. So the question of exemption has come up. One of the benefits of the PBO Act, as highlighted by my colleague here, is tax exemption. So tax exemption is given by KRA. What the authority does is give a recommendation. So when you are registered and you start operating, once you get your certificate and you come to the authority, what we give you is the recommendation, which you later take to KRA. So the KRA also came up with the income, donations, and taxable exemptions rules of 2024, which were brought in May of 2024. So remember our act after it was operationalized in May, KRA also reviewed their rules in June, and they gave a new set of rules. So what they look at mostly is the public benefit. What is your organization doing? There's something which is also on the rules, on our regulations, known as the public benefit test. If you look at regulation 6 of the regulations that you've been given, you will see something written, the public benefit test. So this is a test that helps us identify what exactly your organization is doing. So the area you're operating in should be an area which the public is benefiting from, and not just a class of people. For example, if I was to form a chama ya wamama, na tunakuja tunachanga pesa, we help ourselves. Is that a PBO?
No.
Do you think that would be termed as a PBO?
Unless they do water tanks.
We call those self-help groups, because wanajisaidia. So the public benefit aspect must come out very clearly. Secondly, the beneficiaries must be identifiable. So if you form a PBO today and you intend on helping girls or boys or the youth, a beneficiary that can be identified. So that is another thing that we look at and KRA also looks at. I'm telling you this because when you go to KRA, after we've given you the recommendation, they'll also still look at this test before they grant you the exemption. Exemption is not automatic. Okay? You have to pass the PBO test. You have to be able to show that your activities are for the public and you have an identifiable beneficiary set. Secondly, there are different types of exemptions that they give based on the different types of taxes. So, under the PBO Act, if you look at the second schedule, it lists down some of the exemptions that you can get. You can be exempted from import duty. If you're bringing in goods for your organization, assuming you have a PBO in the healthcare system and you're forming or opening a clinic, you will require to bring in machinery, right? X-ray machines, things that doctors use, and you'll require that exemption against the import duty. So that is one of the types of exemptions that you can get. Assuming you have started to do income generating activities and you make a profit, you will need exemption from that because you have been able to show that this income generating activity that you have conducted, the profits you intend on directing to the PBO. Okay? If you are able to show that, then you can get exemption on that. Assuming you have assets and you have a piece of land which you really need to transfer so that you can make some extra income to bring back to the organization, that asset for the organization, if you sell it, there is that tax called capital gains tax. Simnajua mkiuza shamba, there's that, when you make a profit from the land, it's called capital gains tax. You can get exemption on that tax. Still on the sale of assets, we have the stamp duty, which you pay once you sell an asset. You can also get exemption from that tax. So there are various types of taxes which you can get exemption from. But as I've started by saying, it is not automatic. They have to actually see and you have to demonstrate that that transaction was for a charitable objective. Okay? Group 1 also touched on INGOs. So interestingly, we had an INGO public participation forum today morning. That is why my colleague here was running a bit late because she was also handling that forum. So they have also been able to participate. And you asked what type of participation they were able to give. I don't know if she'll be willing to share what some of the suggestions they gave. But of course, when we write our report, you'll be able to see, and we'll also incorporate some of their comments. There was the clarification on how a CBO which already has existing structures can come into the PBO Act. I hope I got that question right. How can a CBO which is already existing be accommodated by the PBO Act? And that is already registered. Okay. So there are different charitable organizations in Kenya registered under different regimes. CBO is one of them, community-based organizations. Others include societies, trusts. Trusts are registered under the Trustees Act, which is now being done by BRS. We have foundations under the Register of Societies. So we have many different charitable organizations
which are registered under different regimes. So what the PBO Act has done is that now it has given them different registration avenues under which they can come into the PBO Act. One of them is through incorporation. If an already registered entity wishes to fully operate as a PBO, it can come and be registered as a PBO. Registration from its previous regime, if it wishes to be fully incorporated as a PBO. The other option, if it doesn't wish to lose its previous registration, it can come and be bestowed. Section 7 of the PBO Act talks about bestowment. This is where you stay with your CBO registration, or you stay with your trust registration, or you stay with your society registration, but you are conferred or bestowed with the PBO status. That means we have already seen what you do is of public benefit. You're not a self-help group. Your beneficiaries, we can identify them. Your activities, according to Section 2 of the Act, either fall within charitable public benefit activities, meaning you're either promoting health, education, environmental activities, among others. So if that is the case, bestowment means you are keeping your original registration but being conferred with the PBO status. And with that status, you can benefit from the benefits of the PBO Act. The benefits, which one of them you said is tax exemption. Such that when you go to now KRA with that PBO certificate that to show that you have the status, you can also benefit from tax exemption. We are together. Hi. Something interesting came up on income generating activities. I found it interesting because but at the same time, my friend here is worried that now companies will come and want to be PBOs. Are you seeing the weight of that? Companies which have already been making profits, now you're worried they will come into your sector because we are allowing you to do what they do. From where I stand, they should be the ones who are worried. No? But no, the piece of cake is too large for everyone to have a piece, okay? So, again, I will insist that what we look at is primary activity. A company which is fully profit-making cannot come into your sector of PBO and say we want to now get the certificate, because we will look at their primary activity of what they're doing. The same way, for PBOs, when you are able, when now you are given permission to indulge in income generating activities, we don't expect you to stop helping your beneficiaries and fully go into profit making. Okay? We don't expect you to stop offering medical services if you're an NGO and start. It means you're just becoming a company and not a PBO. So you need to retain that public benefit activity. As much as you're being allowed to engage in income generating activities, we expect that it is only for purposes of sustainability. Your primary activity should remain for the public. You don't stop engaging in your public benefit activities and now move to private profit-making activities. Okay? So I think we can listen to the other groups, then we proceed as we go. There's also a form which has been circulated for written submissions. If you have specific parts of the regulations where you want to give feedback on, you can fill in that form.
Okay. Yes. Someone from group 2.
Okay, hi. Nando Ann from the National Federation of PBOs. Okay, actually he had covered our part, but there are some issues we will emphasize there. On fees, okay. Number 1, application of reservation of name. The current fee was 2,000. Okay. We are proposing we maintain it at 1,000. Application for extension of name reservation, current fee is 2,000. We are proposing it to maintain at 1,000. Application of registration of endowment-based PBO, current fee is 22,000. So we are proposing we reduce it to a range of between 10,000 to 11,000. Application of registration of local PBO, current fee is 20,000. We are proposing to be standardized between 10,000 and 15,000. Application for registration of international, the INGOS, the current fee is 40,000. We are requesting to be reduced to 30,000. Filling of annual returns, current fee is 4,000. We are requesting to be reduced to 2,000. Thank you.
Next, hand over to the guy who is saying more things.
My name is Job Mwenda Mungania, Director of the Master Empowerment Center, also Chairperson of CLAN. I'm head of organization that CLAN is a community-led action network. It's an organization representing CBOs and organizations started by students from Kenyatta University and yearly fellows and young change makers. I'll be sharing on part 5, public benefit organization. I believe our wakili have discussed much, but we had given an opportunity to share. And I have 3 points that we shared during our group discussion. The first point was about registration requirement of international public benefit organization. It is proposed that the minimum administrative and documentation requirement for registration to be seamless and reduced to promote international cooperation and foster partnership, encourage foreign-based public benefit organization to operate lawfully in Kenya. The second point is about local partnership. A new provision should be introduced requiring that all IBPOs operation in Kenya establish formal partnership with registered local public benefit organization and community-based organization or charitable trust. This requirement is intended to promote local capacity building, ensure accountability through local outside mechanism, and enhance relevance and sustainability of intervention. So we're requesting for a clause for local partnership. The third part is about the structure and financial arrangement. Regulation should require international public benefit organization to establish a clear structure that permit domestic donation, framework, and local resource mobilization, which is original about the donation, and clarification and guidance should be provided with the regulation required on transparency, accountability for donation funding, and local governance mechanism compliance with the law of Kenya, included of Kenya national governance structure. And also on the draft that we were given, we saw there was some correction on the spelling or typing error. And that is the regulation mistakes. Regulation, that is clause number 14.1, C and 5. That says that the regulation The regulation mistakenly states that one instead of a third. There is a part that you said one of the official should be a Kenyan, but it should be a third. That is our thinking. And it proposed the regulation to be corrected to reflect the correct legal standard as originally intended, which require at least one third. And these proposed amendments are guided by the principle of equity, inclusion, encouraging participation of small community-based organizations, transparency and accountability, and international-based practice. And thank you so much.
Thank you so much for those concise propositions. I think we can take that would be the fourth group. This is a third. Second, so we can take the third group kindly. Then.
Hello. Yeah, for the. So I'm Yusuf Mohammed, a leader of KUSA, and I'm here to represent Group 3. So for our Group 3, we are looking. KUSA, Kenya University Student Association. So we had two of us, one about the cancellation or suspension of the PBOs. The second one, we talked about joining the forums. Now, concerning the cancellation, we had some suggestion here that sometimes between the two parties, is there a clear legal way we can use or a third party that is going to be involved? Because sometimes maybe politics or disagreement between leaders can come in and make that quick judgment on that. So you can help us understand that. The other thing, does the current registration process strike the right balance between the oversight and ease of access to grassroots organization? What mechanism exists to ensure that an organization is not unfairly targeted or disregistered due to political or external interference? Is there a need of set maximum timeline for how long investigation, registration, and appeal should take to promote this efficiency? How will the appeal be made accessible, affordable, and transparent for the small organization with limited legal resources? I know the process is tedious and expensive for the beginning of PBOs, so we need to be guided there. How can administrative process encourage more local community-based organization to formalize and join the PBOs space? Should there be a digital registration compliance tracking portal to increase this access efficiency? What safeguard exists to ensure that the investigation and audits are fair, independent, and professional? About the audit, we've identified here, we're not just going to audit the assets or whatever things they own. We also thought about, from our professor, he asked, now we banning this thing, or PBOs is going to be deregistered. Where will the data go? Because that's the key thing. They have like an archive, very big one of data. So if we had to transfer the way I think she talked about transferring it to other organizations doing the same thing. So if you are to transfer, where are you going to take that data? And what criteria should we use for that? Because under the registration, it's clear that once it is suspended, you cannot transfer any money to another bank. You cannot hire any other person. No member of that organization can use that money for other things. So which way should we follow in that? It's going to be transparent also, that the next person who is going to be given is going to do exactly what we've been doing, or is going to achieve the objective that we've been tracked to do. Now, how will communities or whistleblowers be empowered to report misuse or misconduct by registered PBOs? This is just a suggestion, because we can say that as officials or leaders up there, we don't know what's going on in grassroots. So how will we empower this community and the people who are being helped by this to ensure that they track and it does whatever it's been registered to do. Part 2, about forums. From the point of view, we can see like it's made a mandatory to be part of PBO or for the PBO to join the forums. Now, just a suggestion, can we come up with an incentive to make people like the PBOs love and join the forums without making it mandatory or making them like you're being forced to do so? Now, about the forum, we've seen the code of conduct is going to be used there. Is the conduct of conduct which was proposed bill sufficient to promote ethical behavior and accountability? If not, what are we going to add on top of that? Now, the other one, what minimum governance and operational standard should self-regulation forum be required to maintain? So they need to have their standard. Yeah, what standard? Should self-regulation forum play a role in continuous capacity building for their members? If yes, how and where? Now, how can the forums promote collaboration among PBOs to avoid duplication and increase development impact? Because you've said that we are going to join these PBOs together in one forum, doing the same thing. And we've said like, these PBOs are going to be joined together, they are doing the same thing. We can have forum and forum of forums at the same time. So how can we do that to avoid duplication? Now, how will the authority evaluate and accredit these forums? What metrics should be used? Can self-regulation help prevent scandals that damage public trust in NGOs and development partner? Should data on compliance, membership, and governance of self-regulation forum be made public for transparency? And if yes, how safe will our data be? I think that's all.
Asante sana. So I think I was hearing data protection and privacy obligations. I think one more thing is, as they have said, what will be the regulatory authorities' guidelines and powers as it will be, because that has not been captured anywhere. Is there anything about guidelines and powers of the PBO authority itself? What limitations?
All right. Thank you so much for those questions. I think there were quite a number of questions. And yes? Ameleta maswali kwa wingi. So I hope those questions are well noted somewhere and can also be shared for purposes of our rapporteuring. Julie has a host of questions to answer. I can start helping her. I think some of the issues that you asked are some legal issues that I can point you even to the Act or to the law on whether it is mandatory to join self-regulation forums. It is not. It is very voluntary to join the self-regulation forums, and this I will point you to Section 23 of the Act, which provides that each organization registered under the Act may voluntarily join and maintain membership in a self-regulation forum. So to be very clear, it is not mandatory to join a forum. It is very voluntary. And as we said, the main and a key aspect of this act is to promote self-regulation, which is a very important issue for this sector. Even with the passing of this act, it was a private members bill that was sponsored by the members of the sector. and which is why some of these key issues were brought out in this act, including the aspect of self-regulation. So to answer you, that is really not a mandatory issue. It's not mandatory for a PBO to join their forums. I think in terms of the powers of the authority, they're clearly also set out in the Act, and which really could not be replicated in the regulations. Yeah, Julie can, or this is Vitalis, can take up some of the other issues.
Thank you very much. I'll go through some of the questions, then I think the remaining questions will be answered by my colleague Juliet. I also noticed that most of the questions were actually falling on the powers of the authority. If you read Section 42 of the Act, Section 42 of the Act will mostly answer some of the questions, including the question on capacity building. Capacity building has actually been assigned to the authority, and it's a function of the PBO regulatory authority. But those are some of the activities then within the codes of conduct, within your self-regulation mechanisms, you may be able to highlight them, but it's a function of the authority fully. If you looked at 42, the functions of the authority shall be two. One, register and deregister public benefit organizations in accordance with this Act. Of course, that's the primary and the core mandate of the organization. Maintain a register of PBOs registered under the Act with the precise sectors, affiliations, and locations of the activities. C, interpret the national policy on public benefit organizations so as to assist in its smooth implementation and observance by government ministries, departments, and agencies at various levels. Receive and review annual reports of PBOs. Advise the government on the activities of PBOs and their role in development within Kenya. Issue forms, instructions, and model documents. Facilitate information sharing and networking between PBOs and the government. So that's more of a partnership framework between the three parties, tripartite parties. Institute inquiries to determine if organizations of PBOs do not comply with the Act or any other law. And I think that is on questions that are touching on investigations. I'll also deal with them late after this. Provide advice and training to public benefit organizations. Now, that is one of the major roles, the PBO Act is now giving the authority, which is now to capacity build the PBOs it regulates. Then do anything incidental or conclusive the performance of any of the preceding functions. Now, let me look at the other questions. One, how will, on cancellation and suspension of PBOs, is there a clear way for a third party to be in place? Yes. When you realize suspension or cancellation will not be like brewing coffee. It's not instant. It's something that is procedural and will take a time. You will not just wake up today and say that PBO A has been suspended or cancelled. There must be correspondences. An offense has happened, we will correspond to you. There are several steps that will be in place before finally we arrive at a decision that you actually ought to be suspended. The provisions. Is there a third party in place? Yes, we make a decision as the authority. One of the advantages, if you looked at the presentation of our consultant between the previous law and the current law, is that previously, once the board made a decision, you've applied for review, the board reviews it again, you could only appeal it to the minister, where our authority falls under. But under the current law, we have what we call the Public Benefits Organizations Dispute Tribunal. This is an independent body anchored in the judiciary, and as you heard, it's already in place, been established. I think the names were taken to Parliament, vetted and approved, it's in place. So once you are not comfortable with the decision we've taken, you've applied for review and you are still not comfortable with the review of that decision by the board, or by the authority, sorry, you are then at liberty to go to the PBO Disputes Tribunal. Once it makes a decision and still you feel like you are not at peace with that decision, you still can go to the High Court of Kenya on a further appeal. Mechanisms to ensure an organization is not politically targeted, investigation matters and appeal mechanisms. I think my previous answer responds to that. How will the administrative mechanisms allow integration of small organizations? I do not understand in what context, but sorry?
Administration, either paperwork or costs or things like that. Are they staggered for different organizations at different levels?
I think in terms of registration, we have about 4 registration regimes. One, those that come to incorporation directly, as my colleague had mentioned. Then there are those that come for bestowment, and of course the fees are there. Then we have organizations being registered with us as international PBOs. Then we have now international PBOs that are exempt. International PBOs that are exempt are those organizations that seek to set base in Kenya, but do not directly implement any project. Maybe those that are offering maybe funding. An example is, for example, Ford Foundation. Ford Foundation does not directly implement any project. They're only here for purposes of funding other entities. But an international organization, in our context, an organization that operates outside our jurisdiction, but is now also seeking registration within our jurisdiction. How will the community be empowered to ensure they report organizations contravening the objectives? And I think this is still on investigations.
Whistleblowing.
Yeah, whistleblowing. I've been utilizing to deal with what we call errant organizations. Mostly is from feedback from the communities. So organizations usually do anonymous reporting to us. Of course, you can also do a letter to us. You can do anonymous reporting via our social pages, or you can also make a call directly. So I can basically say the community has been greatly involved in supporting our work in identifying some of these errant organizations in the society. Making the forums not mandatory, will the code of conduct make it standard? One, I don't think the forums are mandatory in its practical sense. It's optional to join a forum or a federation of forums, but exhaustively, I think I'll want to leave that question to my senior to come and handle it. Will the forums prevent scandals? We hope so. We hope so. Part of the reason we allow or we encourage self-regulation, even across other sectors, if you look at the banking sector, is that as an as PBOs, for example, let me mention, for example, PBOs in healthcare. Healthcare may not only be regulated with us. It's a profession that has very strict liability. One offense amounts to strict liabilities. So the reason we have self-regulation forums is to allow PBOs within your own caucuses come together, set your own codes of conduct. How are you going to operate at PBOs? So that once you are in a caucus, you know exactly what to do. So that some of these issues that go outside the scope of objectives of organizations are actually prevented at that level before they now come to the regulator. So that is one of the reasons. And that's why mostly they say self-regulation forums are actually going to increase accountability even among organizations. How? Because it's now putting in structures. You are regulating yourselves first. Are we operating within the sphere we are supposed to? So if you are checkmating yourselves, then it means you are likely going to do a better job than before you even go outside that. On the issue of data protection and others, I would allow my senior perhaps to come and address issues on data protection.
Thank you, Sheila and Vitalis. They've actually answered most of the questions. So I will clarify on the 2 issues which have been left: self-regulation and data protection. As the word goes, self-regulation, self, meaning it is intrinsic, wewe mwenyewe, right? So we have different types of regulations. The PBO authority is a regulator, meaning what they do is regulate. So there are different tiers of regulation in the sense that as the authority, what we are supposed to do, as Section 42 says, is to regulate the sector and create an enabling environment for PBOs to operate. Two main things. We register NGOs and we regulate NGOs. That is the first tier of regulation by the regulator. Keeping in mind, this is external, meaning you're not doing it yourselves. And that is why we are here, because we have the PBO Act and the draft regulations, which we have developed to help regulate the sector. When we are regulating the sector, what are we doing? We are checking whether you are abiding to that act and whether you are abiding to the regulations. Okay? That is the first tier. The second tier of regulation is co-regulation. Before we even get to self, co-regulation is where, as the authority, we are regulating you, but you are also assisting us to regulate the sector. Meaning we are coming together, like we have come here today, to ensure that we are all compliant. That is co-regulation. The third tier is self-regulation, this is where most of the questions are coming up. Self-regulation is amongst yourselves. Meaning, the only way we come in is to just facilitate you to go forth. We empower you to go forth and regulate yourselves. Okay? The three tiers. We are together up to that point. Section 20 of the Act says, every organization has the freedom to associate. Meaning, it is not mandatory. You have the freedom to associate. You can choose to join an association, a forum, for example. You can choose to be a member of ASAL Humanity Network or choose not to be. You have the freedom to. We are not here to tell you every NGO must be in a forum. We are here to tell you you have the freedom to, as the Act provides. Remember, we are the regulators. We are enforcing the Act. We give you the freedom. Now you decide which forum you want to join. It further goes on to provide that self-regulation can either be according to themes or geographies. Meaning, you can join a forum where those organizations in that forum only deal with a certain sector. For example, we come together to form a forum that deals with education. Or we come together and form a forum that deals with health. Meaning NGOs which are in the health sector or those in the education sector have decided to come together and self-regulate that sector. They have sat down, created a code of conduct in which they will work better in that sector. Or you can form a forum based on where you are. If you are organizations in northern part of Kenya, you can say, as organizations who help people in the northern part of Kenya, we are going to form a forum in which we can work better in meeting our mandate in that part of Kenya. So self-regulation is not mandatory. It is, you have the freedom to. You can choose to or choose not to. I hope that is clear. What we only do is facilitate. When you have a forum, you have come together as 10 NGOs, you can form a forum. So we only give you the minimum number. That is what the regulation has done. So you can have up to 20 NGOs in one forum, up to 30 NGOs in one forum. Then again, you can go a step further and decide we have 5 forums. We have decided to form a federation of forums. So forum 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. dealing with health, education, other sectors, you decide now we will form a federation. Because either we have a common interest that we want to maintain, or we have a common target group that we want to help. So you also come up with a code of conduct for that federation or forum. Okay? So the word federation here should not be confused. We have the national federation and we have the federation of forums. Federation of forums is a group of forums, minimum of 5 forums. The national federation is different. That is the one that is established. Cheboy, you utanisaidia ku explain. So I think it will be better when you, because you understand your language. But yes, so those are 2 different federations coming up, okay? Hi. The question in data protection. So data is very critical, and we also take a lot of care on how we handle our data. We are data process holders because we take personal data from you. You will come, you'll give us your name, you'll tell us your physical address, I will see your ID, where you come from, the location. That is personal data. And under the Data Protection Act of 2019, I am required by law to handle that data very carefully. The same applies to you as a PBO. You have your beneficiaries that you help, right? You have those children you help, you have those mothers you help, you have those people in the key population that you help. Key population, nani anajua key population? I'm seeing nodding. Yes.
Thank you very much. Basically, talking about key populations, men and women who sometimes do not necessarily do what I do. It could be from the way we relate with each other, men and women. It could be the other. Basically here, because we don't have, if we are talking about men who have sex with the men, lesbian, men and women who are born with the 2 sexes, those kind of things. Sit down. Yes, I think let me stop there. And also, very important, we are now having people who are using drugs. And as well, there is the silent communities, especially women. Because I get drunk, you see me drunk, but you do not know my other gender, what they are doing, and it's not well documented. As a result, you get many things. When you grew up, did you see a man or woman killing their own children?
That is just a question to you. I think that was a rhetorical question, but he's explained it very well. So that is data. Those are people in the society, and there are NGOs which undertake such programs. So it means as a PBO, you are also mandated by law, the Data Protection Act, to handle that data with extra care. Especially, for example, for NGOs which deal with matters to do with HIV. The law provides that even 7 years after that project, if they come there to your office, they should be able to see that data is well protected, right? That means you're also data processors. When you go to the office of the Data Protection Commissioner, you will be told, we require you to have a data protection policy, an internal policy. I'm going now into internal matters, but it's the same. I'm trying to help you understand how even us as an authority, the same care we use to handle your data is because it is put upon us by law. And the same should act also on your end. So to answer his question, we have an internal data protection policy, which also allows us to handle data very carefully. So don't be worried when we ask you for this information. We are also sensitive to what information we put on our public register. If you do a file search for an organization, there's that information we can give you, and there's that information where you'll have to justify why you want us to give you. So those are some of the mechanisms that we have put in to ensure that data is well protected. Was there a different group which had not presented? Yes. Okay. So.
Yes, this is the last group.
Good afternoon, everyone. So my name is Anne Getau from the National Federation of PBOs, and I'm here to present the views for Group 4. So on Part 8 of the Draft Regulations 2025 on the obligation and material changes of public benefit organizations, Section 28, subsection 2H, there is a pressing need for the draft regulations to provide a clear and consistent categories of the various types of organizations operating within and outside the country. So, when the draft mentions international organization, it remains ambiguous because does it refer to the foreign-based entities operating in Kenya or those registered locally but affiliated with international networks? Similarly, the term local organizations, national organization, and exempt organizations are used without precise definition of criteria for clarification. This lack of clarity could lead to confusion in registration, taxation, compliance, and coordination within state agency. We therefore strongly recommend that the regulations explicitly define these categories, outlining parameters such as operational scope, sources of funding, governance structures, and the geographical focus to ensure transparency, fair treatment, and effective regulation of all types of PBOs. And then on Part 9 of the draft regulations on dissolution and deregistration of a public benefit organization, Section 32, the draft regulation on dissolution and deregistration of public benefit organization does not clearly outline the grounds for deregistration, and the draft fails to ensure that affected organizations receive a written explanation for such actions. Additionally, the process lacks procedural safeguards such as the right to appeal to an independent review mechanism. We therefore recommend that the regulations include a detailed list of valid grounds for dissolution. The dissolution can be in terms of have they dissolved because of maybe acts of violence, human trafficking, gender-based violence, among others. And so we recommend that the regulation include a detailed list of valid grounds for dissolution, mandate a formal and written justification for any deregistration decisions, and outline a clear, fair appeals processes. This will protect the integrity of the sector and prevent arbitrary or politically motivated actions against PBOs. And then I'll just mention some of the fees that had not been stated. On the notification of material changes by a public benefit organization, the proposal according to the draft is 15,000, but we are proposing it to be 5,000 per charge. Thank you so much. I'll call upon my colleague to continue the rest.
Yes, thank you very much. My name is Billy from Students Association Kenya. So I will handle section 10 where you are talking about miscellaneous provisions. Hello. Yes, I can repeat again. My name is Billy. Yes. So I'm handling on miscellaneous provision under section 36, subsection 1D. So the draft regulations permit PBOs to engage in economic activities to support their sustainability, while this part doesn't provide a clear framework for how profits will be utilized. Let's take, for example, the net profit of a company or NGO is 1.2 million. So does it mean that all 1.2 million will go for the public, or shall we retain some of the profit to facilitate the scalability of the NGO? So that is a question maybe I will need you guys to clarify for us. So for us, we suggested about, around 70% of it, at least to go for that, then 30% to remain for the NGO. Then finally, we had also another suggestion that in this draft of the PBO Act 2025, we should include a clause that actually recognizes the National Federation of PBOs as a legitimate umbrella body for the sector. All organizations registered with the Public Benefit Organization Regulatory Authority, that is the PBORA, should automatically become the members of the National Federation. Yes, this recognition is vital for unifying representation, structured sector coordination, and effective engagement. Such provision will strengthen collaboration, enhance accountability also, and ensure that collective voice of the PBO sector is safeguarded and heard in all relative spaces. Thank you. Maybe I will welcome Mr. Michael to add on something.
Good afternoon. My name is Michael Mushai Maura from Nakuru. I represent the South Rift region and also represent an organization called Alternative Justice Systems, Mashinani Initiative Kenya, dealing with access to alternative dispute mechanisms. Now I'll just echo on one thing that he mentioned, the issue of the proceeds from the business ventures. He suggested that 70% to go to the authority, to the facilitation or enhancement of the PBOs, and 30% be retained by the organization for growth, so that the organizations or the ventures, the business venture does not die. It has to continue being improved for growth purposes. That's what I wanted to clarify. Thank you.
So maybe to add in, what is the level of funding that shall fall within the reporting setup to the PBO? From 0 shillings? Let's say the turnover of an organization that falls within the process. Before there used to be $1 million or something. Is that still there? The second one is the reporting by 31st of March is still included while you talk about 6 months grace period. So how do those two things relate? The final one is about government funding. Largely, if you look at the global setup, Ministry of Foreign Affairs of other countries do a call to their local organizations to be able to support work in Kenya. So that's why you are seeing INGOs able to operate here in Kenya with resources from a backstage. Are there plans of the Ministry of Foreign Affairs being able to have certain funds that will be used to be able to do response by local, organizations from Kenya, maybe in Ethiopia or so Sudan or wherever, depending on the need for a call for proposal, and what will be the role of the PBO Act in that kind. Because the other countries, they have a charity for, organization, regulatory kind of thing. And they're the ones who are engaged in that process to be able to do that. That will be very critical questions to just check. And then in terms of suspension and registration, normally when you're a worker, you'll be told you have done gross misconduct. So there's a difference in the processes of gross misconduct for suspension and interdiction, for ABCD and these different things. Within the setup, including warning and other things, are there processes like that which are very clearer, rather than just lump sumly saying you'll register, there will be processes for appeal, but at least what falls within gross misconduct, what falls with these different things, so that you have the actions you take are very clear.
All right. Thank you for those good propositions and also questions. Julie, I think you can take on some of those issues.
I'll talk about the INGOs and exempt organizations before I can invite my colleague Stephen, who is in the compliance department. He'll answer the questions on funding and reporting. So, the difference between international organizations and exempt organizations. International organizations are those that are registered elsewhere first before they come into Kenya. So assuming I register an NGO or a PBO known as ASAL Humanitarian Network in the United States, I have that certificate, right? When I come to Kenya, I will register as an international PBO because I already have a first certificate outside Kenya. If I register ASAL in Kenya and tend to want to operate in America, will I be an international NGO? I will be a local NGO because my first registration is in Kenya. So here in Kenya, I will be a national NGO, okay? So we have to look at jurisdiction. Where was the organization first registered and where is it operating? If I register in Kenya and operate in Kenya, I'll operate as a national NGO. If I register in Kenya and go to Tanzania, I'll go to the NGO board of Tanzania, right? In Tanzania, at the NGO board of Tanzania, they will tell me I'm an international NGO. Why? Because that is not my first registration. I am registered in Kenya. So two things we have to look at: where the organization is first registered and where it is operating. So if you're registered elsewhere, you have a certificate, you come to Kenya, you are an international NGO. If you're registered in Kenya, you are a national NGO. Tuko sawa hadi hapo?
Because we have seen international organizations who have formed local boards and they will come to the PBO, to the NGO coordination board and register a local.
Yes. So if you are an international NGO and you come to Kenya, one of the requirements is that you have a local board so that you can operate into the country. In that local board, you'll be required to have a third Kenyans. And that is mostly because of accountability. We need to be able to reach these officials. The authority will not be able to register an international NGOs with only foreigners in the local board. Because when we want to reach them and ask them what we are doing, we will not go to America. We will ask the ones who are here. Because they are also operating here on your behalf, right? As a representation of the organization. Exempt organizations, on the other hand, the PBO Act under Section 11 talks about exempt organizations. And those are the ones which want to have presence in Kenya, but two things. They don't want to implement projects directly here. And secondly, they are not raising funds here in Kenya. So they want to have a regional office. They want either to come and support organizations which are already registered, or they want to come and have an office here but implement projects elsewhere. For such an organization, we will exempt it. Okay? So you can see the difference between an international NGO and an exempt NGO. An international one is actually implementing projects here in Kenya directly. So it cannot be exempt. An exempt organization is having a regional office here, but it is not raising funds locally in the country, neither is it implementing funds here in Kenya. Okay. Hiya. My colleague Steve will come and talk about the funding.
Before you leave, the question is, let's say it's Asal Humanitarian Network. It has gone other countries and done all that registration. It came to Kenya. And now it registers as a local, and I have 100% of the board as from Kenya, and I have an executive director. Yes, it has the name Asal Humanitarian Network. However, it's already a fully local entity because it has 100% of the board as Kenyans, and the executive director is also a Kenyan. Does it qualify to become a national entity, although it's still affiliated with the same names outside there because they have 100% governance system? Or what is the linkage? Because that is what is going to come and constrict the space of local organizations in Kenya if that is now registered as a local, an entity completely becomes referred to as Kenyan, while it still has as a humanitarian network, which is an international.
Okay. So I'll repeat. When we are looking at national and international, we don't look at the composition of the board first. We look at, who will repeat my answer? The origin of registration.
Like it has been called Kenya, so completely everything is original.
Where has it been registered first? Where has it been registered first?
At least it's good to hear.
It might have the word Kenya hapo mwisho, but where has it been registered first?
Great.
It might have 10 Kenyan board members, but where has it been registered first? That is what we look at to determine what is a national and what is an international. That is not to mean that national NGOs cannot have foreigners. They can have foreigners in the board. So we don't look at the board composition. We look at...
Can we give him a coffee for that? Because that has been a serious worry.
Bwana Director, don't be worried. Thank you so much. I'd start with the question from him. It wasn't answered in the last plenary. That is the distribution of assets on dissolution or cancellation of certificate or deregistration. One, that is assets and data. One, on dissolution is where the directors of the organization decide that they either met the objective of the organization and they voluntarily want to close down the organization. So with their residual assets, that is after paying, settling their liabilities, they have the first option to nominate another entity where they would want the assets, that they would want them to take up their assets and any other program, if there is any, that is. The criteria normally is an entity that is undertaking similar objectives or activities, and it should be in the same area of operation. So kama inafanyia kazi Nyamira County West Mugirango constituency, it should start from there. Another entity around there going outwards. Because those assets that organization was holding those assets for the benefit of the interest, for the benefit of the people of that locality. So it makes sense that it starts from there. And you can transfer a school bus, a bus that was bought for a school program, now to a hospital, unless there is no such entity around there. Now, coming to organizations that have been deregistered, that is where the registration or cancellation of certificate arises where the regulator takes the initiative for the reasons that you required us to list. Hopefully they'll be listed, but I believe it's been mentioned that contravention of the laws, including the PBO Act and the regulations and the terms and conditions that will come up therefrom. So upon this contravention, it means that it's the regulator who is doing, who is initiating the cancellation due to non-compliance. In that case, the organization does not have the onus of nominating an entity to take over the assets. So it's upon the authority to look at which other entity around there, because it's the custodian of the register and the programs, which other entity around that locality following this criteria that is undertaking similar objectives that can take both the programs, if there are any that were ongoing, and the assets of this organization that is being deregistered. And I'm hopeful that there will be consultation with the federation when that one comes. Then on the level of funding that falls within reporting setup, the ED asked that one. And as the Wakilis will tell us, the regulations can only regulate on the Act. They cannot change what the Act has said. And the Act has said that all registered PBOs are required to file returns within 6 months. So the issue of 3 months, probably that was a typo, but it's 6 months. The Act is clear on 6 months, and it's also clear that it is all registered. So it does not go with the funding level. I know previously we've had the issue at 1 million. 1 million threshold for either income or expenditure that are required to, not to file returns only, but they are not required to do their audited reports. But now, they have to do the audit reports at whichever level of funding. At the same time, they have to file the returns. So, I hope we will find a mechanism, or maybe in the amendments, so that we can at least be able to exonerate, for example, the startup organizations or organizations that have not received funding for a period of time. At least so that, because audits don't come cheap, and yet they'll be required to do the audits. Filing the return is not an issue. The audits are the issue. And then coming to that other question, the utilization of profits from income generating activities. Yes. Now, that one, the distribution, the Act says that, and as we read this Act, this particular provision, we also have to consider KRA. You know, the authority is a gatekeeper. So look at the tax implication. The tax implication depends on the ownership model of this IGA, income generating activities. Let's start from where an entity runs the IGA as part of its programs. That means that it doesn't have a special purpose vehicle or a different registration to undertake the IGA. In that particular instance, if this entity is exempt from taxation, then the income from this IGA will definitely be exempt from taxation, because it is this income from the IGA that is actually being exempted from taxation, not the income that arises from donations or grants. Now we go to the other model where this entity, the PBO, registers a company, for example, to undertake under BRS, that will be under BRS, to undertake the income generating activities. KRA will issue 2 PIN numbers, one for the PBO, the other one for the business. But the only income that will be the exemption does not cover entities registered under BRS. It only covers entities registered under the PBO Act, that is the Income Tax Act. So that other income that will require to be repatriated to this other side will still be taxed to some extent. And that is why KRA has come up with, sometime last year, the guidelines for exemption of incomes for PBOs or charities. Those guidelines they came before the regulation, before the act was operationalized, but we are working hand in hand with the KRA to see these business models. Because for an entity to compete, for a PBO that has an IGA to compete well in the market, it is advisable that they register a separate arm so that the charity arm is not interfered with the business arm. So we are looking at then if the IGA is, the business arm is fully owned by the PBO, then this distribution of profits, how does it happen? Meaning therefore that you won't actually need to retain any profits at the business side. Those ones will be the normal expenses for the, yes. Are we clear on that one? We are somewhere at least, before I hand back the mic to... Yes, sir.
Thank you so much for your feedback, because you are the person dealing with the regulations. Mine is just simple. Number one, are you coming up with the format for reporting for the organization? Number two, are you coming up with a format to support resource mobilization? And also coming up with a structure for the regulation that we need the organization to have? So that is my question. Are you having a sample or a format for that?
Thank you so much. I think I'll answer the first one as I hand back the mic so that the legal team can take the other two. There is a format. Previously, we've been using Form 14. I think currently we'll use Form, is it 21 or 16? Form 28. Yeah, there is a form for annual reporting that summarizes those requirements. The ones zenye zimeleta shida data collection. So there is definitely a format.
Juliet, I think you can take this. Alternatively.
Yeah, I have just a specific question. What currently what is being implemented currently? And I ask this in reference to, for instance, we have talked about the forums. What is whatever you have explained today, what is being practiced at the authority today? Additionally, recent organizations were trying to do an application, and initially we could submit the certificates of good conduct, data alone. But currently it's like you have to upload it on that online system before, so you realize even the number of 60 days have already expired before you even get the certificate of good conduct. What is the current practice, at least for now, for those organizations that are registering, and for forums that actually would like to register currently?
Okay, thank you. Those are practice-related questions. I think the authority take that.
Okay. So, organization, because organizations in the charity space used to rely a lot on funding. And that donor space is also really dwindling. You cannot fully rely on funding to run your operations. Hence why the income-generating activities were introduced in the new act. I hope that answers.
Main work is to facilitate and coordinate. Specifically, the Public Organization Regulatory Authority is responsible for inter alia, registering, facilitating, coordinating all national and international NGO operating in Kenya, advising the government on their contribution to the national development. So advising on the government, we have a scenario here in Kenya today where we have the, let's say, Climate Change Council, where we have a representation of civil society actors. Who decides who are these people who are elected at this council? Similar to county government, we have this county government, and you hear every now and then we have a representative of civil society from that platform
Who decides who sits in this seat? That was the one question. Second question, in regards to the entire process that we are dealing with today, don't you think that this we are placing the cart before the horse? Because you see the entire process, like we are supposed to go for public participation, enactment, a law formulated on public participation. How do citizens engage on civil society matters? Because you see, like now we are civil society, but when go to Mwananchi, then he say, hii story sio yetu, hii story ni yenyu. Aren't we trying to do what is not supposed to be that way? We push for the government to formulate the Public Participation Act before we formulate the other acts, because that would be the best practice. Thank you.
Pardon. Let me give it to her then.
Oh, thank you. Is it that way? Okay, my question is, it might not relate to you, but, okay.
This way, put your hand down.
Oh, okay.
Closer to them.
Okay. My question might not relate to you, and it might relate to you. I don't know, I need to know now. NGOs, non-governmental organizations which are not making any profit, are they supposed to be taxed or not? Number two, how much are you taxing us? Thank you.
Last one. Kabla.
Okay, thank you. I have an innocent question about companies limited by guarantee. So being the only member, director, and the only signatory, does it mean that I'm going to maintain the status quo? Thank you.
Okay, thank you. I just wish to ask on issue of the county governments in terms of registration. You know, there is the establishment of the county government at ground level, at the national level. What is the role of the county government in terms of the registration process? Secondly, you know, there are economic blocks that are coming up in the county governments that are sourcing for funds. So the county government is finding that NGOs are more of competitors with their blocks, because and they will definitely try to push aside the NGOs. So what is the position of this PBO in those areas? Thank you.
And mostly the blocks are quasi-government, so they're half-half. Economic blocks.
Thank you so much. I think I'll respond to two. Then I'll give my colleagues to respond to the rest. The first one, which I would want my colleague Steve also to be ready to respond. Somebody was asking how NGOs should prepare for annual reviews stroke audits. In terms of compliance monitoring, we look basically at three things. The first thing we look at is your governance, whether you meet the minimum threshold we prescribe as an authority in terms of board membership of an organization. That is also an aspect we review annually while you're submitting your annual returns. So we look at the governance of organizations. So that is one of the preparation you'll need to have. Governance must be compliant. The second one, we look at deviation, whether there is any deviation of that organization from their main objectives when they registered with us. For example, if your main objective is provision of health care, then we expect you to stick to health care. If you get yourself engaging in other activities that's not primarily what you intended to do, then that becomes a deviation from the main objective, and therefore compliance will be there for you. Then of course the other thing we look at is the issues of financial report stroke audits. So basically those are the three main things we look at. So as you prepare for your annual reporting, take keen note of those 3 areas. How do citizens engage in public participation? Of course, despite us not having a public participation law, the supreme law in Kenya is the Constitution, sindio? And one of the principles of good governance, one of the national values and principles of good governance is public participation. I think also Article 118 of the Constitution also discusses public participation on any law that emanates from Parliament. But be it as it may, there has been a lot of litigation also on the issue of public participation, even in the country. And that is one of the reasons we actually have to conduct public participation. We have to let the people have reasonable access to what we've prepared for you for the sector, and also give you an opportunity to look at what we've prepared, then give feedback before we finally make it a regulation for the sector. CRGs, only member, director, and signatory, whether you'll maintain the status quo. I don't know whether I should respond to that or my colleague will respond to that, but I know there'll be some bare minimum requirements. Also, even as a matter of good practice, I don't think running an organization as a single person, making unilateral decisions may be the right way to go. On counties thinking NGOs are competitors in the blocks, economic blocks, I think I wouldn't be very comfortable in responding to that because economic blocks is not related to public participation. That is my thinking. But I know there's a lot of collaboration between national governments and county governments. An example is, for example, in the area of climate change. If you look at FLOCA, for example, financing locally led climate actions, this is an area where NGOs are almost tied with the counties hip to hip in terms of them locally implementing climate-led actions. I don't know whether that responds.
Thank you so much. I want to handle the question of how does the authority help NGOs prepare for audits? It's the other way around. The structure of the PBO is such that we have the membership or non-membership for that matter, then we have the directors, then we have the secretariat. The owners of the NGO, as we say it in common language, is the directors of the NGO. These directors are tasked with the fiduciary responsibility of preparing the financial statements and reports. Then they subject them to the auditor to confirm if these reports that have been prepared, the financial statement, do they reflect a true and fair view of the affairs of the organization for that period and at that particular time. So the auditors act as our third eye, as the authority's third eye, because definitely the authority is not able, or for that matter, no authority is able to review all audits at the same time. So once they're submitted to us, we confirm if are they compliant, do they actually reflect what is on the ground. Now that is a bit easy because we use a risk-based approach. So the responsibility of preparing the audits squarely lies with the directors of the PBO and not the authority. The authority comes in for purposes of reviewing if they reflect what is actually happening on the ground. So I think, Linda, maybe you could. There is a question on taxation.
Taxation on non-governmental organizations which are not making a profit.
So why does it have to go through the other process?
Okay, taxation for non-governmental organizations that are not making a profit. Now, the Income Tax Act, the Income Tax Act is such that the revenue of non-governmental organizations is divided into two. We look at donations or grants, the free money. That amount is not taxable. And at the tail end, in your financial statement, is specifically the statement of income and expenditure. If at the tail end there is something that remains, it could remain because probably you have not undertaken that activity. Pesa inaweza kuja 11th month na tunafunga mwezi, tunafunga mwaka. So it is deferred to the next The activities are the ones that are deferred. And in any case, that amount is not taxable because it has not traded. But when you engage in an income generating activity, be it rent, be it normal trading, then the profits are the ones that are taxable. And it is because of these profits that you are required to have a tax exemption certificate so that these profits are exempted from taxation. And you have to prove that you are using these profits solely for purposes of advancing the charitable objectives of the PBO. And how do profits come up? You buy something, you sell at a higher price. So you have to subtract the costs. So whatever remains is what we call the profits that should be exempted from taxation.
Within this current setup.
Within the current setup and in the future setup. Yes.
Thank you, Steve. I think all the questions have been answered except maybe the innocent one, the innocent question. You asked whether if you're the only director in a CLG, a company limited by guarantee, if the status quo remains. Now, if you want to come under the ambit of the PBO Act, as the company limited by guarantee, you're coming into the PBO Act to be bestowed a public benefit organization status. Now, if you want to be bestowed that status, it will mean that you comply with the requirements of this Act. That will include the membership of your board. You will have to increase the membership of your board to 5, and not less than 5 members, and 3 of whom shall not be your family or related members. So you will have to comply with all the requirements under Section 8 so that you can be bestowed that public benefit status. So in short, status quo shall not be maintained if you come under the PBO Act. You can still exist under the Companies Act and continue with the operations under the Companies Act as the one board member, because of course the Companies Act allows that. The only challenge with that is that you will not enjoy the status of a PBO as provided in this Act, such as tax exemption and being able to undertake this kind of tax exemption. Of course, under the Companies Act, you can undertake economic activities. The only challenge is that under that regime, utalipa ushuru. Ukikuja hapa, utaomba usilipe ushuru na utasaidika. I hope that's clear. Yes. I think maswali yamejibiwa. There is still a lot of room. Is it a lot? There is still room to give in your contributions, to still forward your memoranda to the authority. That is by the 25th of this month. We still have 3 days. That's a lot of time. You can, going by the discussions we've had here, you can decide to put them down in a very neat memoranda and forward them to the authority so that they can be included as part of the report. And even so, we have recorded everything that has been discussed in this meeting today, but we encourage you to, as you said, you are in groups, you can just collate your memoranda and share it with the authority. Equally, remember to fill in the forms that you were given and also share with us so that it will help us in collating all that data and information. On my end, I really want to appreciate this forum. It's been very engaging, very insightful. And at this juncture, I wish to invite Mr. Cheboy to give his remarks. Thank you so much.
Can we clap for the team? I think Waswahili wanasema kilicho na mwanzo ikosi kuwa na mwisho. So we are about to close. And allow me to just say that once again, Ahmed and team at AHN, thank you so much for this. We are very humbled as a federation and all the participants. I'm not keeping vote of thanks. There is Dr. Electin who will do so. But allow me to really appreciate Karibu. I call him Mr. Consultant, Wakili Karibu San. He's also one of the lead lawyers in the process. And I think this is a very crucial forum. And why am I saying this? When we advanced the request to the authority, of course through the ED, who is now represented by Poma, being the team leader, he didn't hesitate. He said, you federation and your stakeholders, the networks, will be there. And I really want to thank you for being here. I know my colleague Ndeti, I'll give you the honor to close shortly. But before that, as this gathering, including now the Bipora team, plus even the consultants, this is a very crucial journey that will move together to make sure that the baby that was born on 5th of June, after being a lot of work being done behind the scenes, was launched, and now we are actually towards the tail end, as was said. We'll continue engaging. Let me say that should you require any support in the process, of course that is within our reach, we'll be able to do something to make sure that this process is continues smoothly. I know after this is not the end, there will still be more and more engagements, and even after the deadline that was gazetted, we will continue as these platform members so that we make sure that the good work that was done will not go into, will not be derailed in any way. So are we in agreement that we shall work together? Yes. In whichever way possible, we will make sure that we work together. We are also in discussions. I've talked to Kango. I'm already in discussion with Anamar, so that at least in one way or another, we make sure that we push these processes forward in the best way possible. There was a small request by Juliet that I also mentioned about the National Federation. This is a federation that is provided under the Act, Section 21 of the Act. The entire section talks about the National Federation. Probably also moving forward, we will also have other engagement processes to talk more about the federation and now the self-regulation. Because as a national federation, we also find a way of maybe working together with other federations provided under the Act, so that we also work in a harmonious way as a nation. Last but not least, if you allow me, before I keep Ahmed to also say a word and closure, allow me on behalf of the rest to also invite Wakili. Wakili akishaingia mahali lazima asalamiane tu. I know you are busy somewhere, plus others who are not here, but you can say something. Your colleagues have done a very good work, but maybe say a word or two before we go towards closing.
Thank you very much. Good evening. So we just from rounding up. Sorry. Okay. So we just passed by because we are just wound up another process of similar nature. We were engaging with international PBOs on the other side of town. So I thought it's good to pass by because we are also part of this process. Come and see how this engagement has been this afternoon. So unfortunately, I don't think I've got enough of it to get a proper feel of the deliberations, but from what Cheboya said, I hope that you've had meaningful engagements on the draft proposals, and going forward, your input will be valuable in shaping the final draft. So we've been engaged in this exercise for almost a month now, gone through the country. We've attended different forums, engaged different stakeholders, the public in general, and from the feedback we've had so far, it's been very captivating. very encouraging to hear the different sentiments on the draft regulations. So we hope that that feedback will find its way into the draft regulations. As we've said, what we have already is just legislative proposals. Nothing on it, apart from what is provided in the Act, is already cast in stone. So as we continue to engage before the closure of the window for issuance of feedback and getting your views on it, we still encourage those of you who have areas on the draft regulations that you want us to improve on to continue giving us feedback, and we'll do our best to ensure that the final product reflects the different interests of the sector. So I do not want to go into detail because I do not know what my colleagues have addressed. So that's my short sentiments. And I want to thank you also for finding time to be here this afternoon to also give us your take on the regulations. So thank you very much, and hope we shall continue to engage going forward. Oh, sorry, my name is Victor Ombongi. I come from C&K Advocates LLP, which is the firm that was requested to assist the authority in terms of drafting, coming up with a draft regulation, and also guiding the public participation process. So it's a pleasure to have joined you this afternoon, albeit for a very short period of time. Thank you.
Thank you. Can we clap for Wakili? And also, if you give it a privilege, Wakili, also say that we recognize the other Wakilis, including Joshua, who is not here. Can we clap for Joshua and the entire team? For those who have been following the process online, you could see Joshua was also instrumental with the team, and they have done a very good work. So as we have promised, we are more than willing to also support any other process as part of making sure that this work goes on smoothly until we realize the baby. We have not completely closed the door of submission, as they have said. So in fact, this is, with the 3 days remaining, and as you know, 3 days is a long time in history. So please take time as a network, individual network if possible, as collective, to make sure that you still send something to the Secretariat. I think your documents also provide the email, the one you provided, so that you can share something. But for purposes of this gathering, because we made a promise, share with us what you have. Joan is there, and Ahmed, so that they put together what we have come up as a resolution of this particular gathering, so that we can also share as a product of this gathering plus the oral submissions that was given. You'll see us having many of these forums before our team plus the consultants. Whenever we invite you at any given time, please, just like you do today, be available. It's our humble request that whenever we invite you for anything related to this, if you see here, we have already made a commitment and said we'll continue, of course, enhancing self-regulation, being a leader in the sector, ensuring that we also continue engaging on governance and oversight within the sector. We have also said we'll continue on sensitization and awareness creation to make sure that whatever we come up with at national level, including even the same PBO Act, I'm sure when you went round, you will still be finding even hard time to understand what is in the PBO Act. We're doing regulations, but they even don't understand the Act itself. So if there will be even another sensitization around that, and including even now, the product that will come from the public participation processes, the real now regulations, we need to do sensitization, of course, in collaboration with stakeholders. Again, of course, engaging on other processes like ensuring that even the provided tribunal does its work as provided in the Act. Ahmed, you could come and say something. And also, after that, Dr. Electin, you will come from Women Caucus to also say vote of thanks. And then we invite Ndeti to close officially. And then after that, we will do a group photo down there. The team, for purpose of documentation, they will guide us where to go so that all of us, and then after that, you will be invited for refreshments as we close the day. Thank you. Say something.
Thank you very much, and I'm really very happy that we have reached this juncture of the process.
process. And mine is just to confirm that all what has been said here is already within the Secretariat of the Humanitarian Network. We'll compile it, then put in all the names and the participant list who participated in the process, and it will find in your inbox. I saw the email address that has been provided. The other one is just the homework now is also for the PBO Federation to really go the real steps. And we thought we'll maximize on the time of the elder brother, which is now the regulatory authority, because as you know, the PBO Federation is not resourced. Maybe that is what I just wanted to echo on the table, that as we go around to do any of the processes, I don't know what our colleagues who are here in the directors level, there is already need for the elder brother within the regulation of the PBO Act. So I'm trying to link it to, like, some time back there was another authority formed somewhere, and I don't want to say the name in Kenya, and it had 3 arms. One of the arms was the one that was the authority with its structure. Another one was a secretariat that was formed. The third was a forum. And since that entity came into force, both the 2 other entities aligning to it were dead, are still dead. Technically means because they don't have resources to even pay a coordinator or to move the processes forward. So I'm really appealing that the PBO Act really looks at how the other arms of PBO Federation as a national outfit plus the tribunal really functions to ensure that the sector is seamless in the services it's supposed to give to the CSO sector. And with those few remarks, I want to thank you guys all again and wish you, as you go back, safe travels. Some of the people here are coming from very far. You had Nakuru, another one traveled from somewhere, different places. We wanted to bring more than 25 to 30. The next session, maybe you'll be finding 100 or 120 networks together. That is how we are committed to delivering support complementarily and gap filling with the government. And I think I'll hand over back to you. Remember the photo, and there's tea and some snacks. Tunasemanga unakula chai sahi. When you are not taking it alone, it has some extra things, then you unakula chai.
Can we clap for Ahmed? Thank you so much. Dr. Lectin, please come in for vote of thanks.
Thank you, Chair. My name is Electin Masengeli, and I'm grateful for what has transpired. I actually we run a very big network of women in the Western region, which started in Bungoma County. We call them Bungoma Women Caucus. It has spread now up to Kakamega, Busia, and Vihiga. In fact, yesterday I was in Vihiga when those ladies called me because of the grand project that was going on of their 5-year interval of cultural circumcision, but I went there to give them some medical support and some sensitization on health practice in whatever they are doing. So we did that, and I left them. Today they are busy doing what they know best. So, but it's illegal. Yes. Okay. Otherwise, I've been told to give. It was men. Oh. Hey, not FGM. Oh. Sorry. Oh, that is wrong. Men, but you see, they do it is traditionally and hygienic, but I had to introduce some circumcision sets to do that in a hygienic way and give them medication so that those boys don't get infections. So, not women. Otherwise, I'm so grateful. Apart from that, I have an NGO also, which is Joy Bell's Medicare Organization. I am a medical person, and therefore I do medical services in the community. And what is so key today, I am so grateful. Let me say, Mr. Ahmed, you have done a wonderful job setting up, being our MC and, setting up this forum for us. It was commendable. And even our people who came from various organizations, from various forums, having sat here all these hours, I really say thank you for having been patient up to this time. I came a little bit earlier, but you started at 8. That is commendable. And mostly, I want to thank our PBOs group that have done a tremendous work around the country, and now you are winding up with us here, giving us such in-depth information about this draft. Our learned friend, thank you so much. I salute you for what you have done, together with the people who came with you. It's not an easy thing, but you have offered yourself to do this. And our chairman of the Federation, I say thank you. He has been following this process so keenly. I've seen it. He has made a report through these young people, and may God bless you so rich that this organization is never going to be the same again, having been transformed in this manner. So I'm so grateful, and I say thank you, all of you. May God bless you.
Thank you. And in many cases, people who provide or always say vote of thanks, they are forgotten. Can we thank her for saying vote of thanks? Thank you so much. As we were just about to close, Abigail Manotti, who also happens to be Wakili, a learned friend, came in. If you don't mind, you can just say hi. Your colleagues have spoken. Just say hi, because we also honor you because of the process. Just say hi.
Good evening, everyone. My name is Abigail Manotti. I'm an advocate of the High Court of Kenya and a consultant for PBORA. I'm sorry I'm late. I'm from another mkutano, but I'm happy to see that everyone is here, and I'm sure that you have had very meaningful engagements. We're hoping to continue working together to make this sector a better sector for each and every one of us. Thank you.
Thank you. Can we clap for her? I think, Ahmed, you need to adjust the budget. These people to also have cocktail later. They have done a lot of good work. And if not even today, this or 25. We will be more than willing to invite you for just a debriefing session and to even say thank you. Senior, yeah, you have done a very good job, and we will console among ourselves. Na tutafute tu jioni moja. Yeah? Tukuje tuseme asante. Of course, with the other team members, maybe the ED, the chair, plus others. So at this point, because of time, allow me to really, on behalf of the ED, I know Poma was the team leader, and he was really representing the executive director, who was also engaged in another very serious eco event, and also the chair, who was to come. But on behalf of all of us, Dr. Ndeti, come and say a word and close this session. And then after closing, I will invite again a volunteer who is starting to pray for us. And then all of us will follow Madam Hu. She's there, so that we do a group photo and then interact network, maybe for some few minutes or so. Thank you.
Thank you very much. My name is Nzioki Ndeti, as you have heard. I'm a director at tumeambiwa inaitwa siku hizi PBORA. Tumezoea PBORA. Thank you very much. Ni Huh? O-RA. Thank you very much. I think the job of opening and closing ceremonies, functions, is very ceremonial because it's not technical. And I'm going to do it that way. I'm not going to say words of thank you because they've been said by so many of them. So what I do now, because of the levels, we have been here since morning, the levels of energies are too low. So I declare this forum closed. Thank you.
And then to request Michael Maura to also come and just close with prayers, and then we all go before the other lady.
Thank you so much. And I've been asked that we pray. Maybe we stand and we just give thanks. And thank you all for coming. You did make this occasion a success, and we are grateful. Let us pray. Our dear Heavenly Father, great and mighty God, creator and maker of all things, the one who created us and made us in our own image and likeness, we thank you, eternal God, for your presence. You've been with us since the beginning of this day. You've seen us through each and every moment. You have provided us, Father, King of glory, with wisdom, knowledge, and understanding. We thank you, Lord, for safety, security, and your goodness. As we depart, we pray that, Lord, may you cover us with your presence, go with us, lead us, and protect us. Govern us in every way, that as we move to the next level of the regulation becoming a law, we pray that, Lord, all shall be well with the PBO world. We thank you, Lord, for the civic society and all the members present. And for those of us who are going very far away, Lord, we seek your guidance and presence. And for those who are going to be around, Father God, we pray that you're going to be with us. Thank you, Lord, for the sponsors of this day and each and every member who participated one way or the other. We ask that, Lord, may you continue to bless them, protect them, and fill them, Lord, with your goodness. We thank you and we bless you. In Jesus' mighty name we pray.
Yes.